Hi, this is Ron Ausburn with Vine, and we're here today with Janice Drescher, who is a business coach, but not only a business coach, she coaches coaches. So we're glad to have her here today to learn about what is a business coach and how do they help a small business start and develop and grow. So, Janice, I'd like to welcome you to the show here. And,
Thank you, Ron.
Yeah.
Happy to talk about this topic because this is a topic that business owners need help with often. And that's because there are a lot of frustrations in a business, and it's easy to go into business with a big inspiration, but then you get sidetracked by frustrations.
Yes.
that abound. And so for that reason, you have an opportunity to build a business that works
Right.
and that is separate from the owner. That's the big opportunity of business coaching. And a lot of people don't understand that that's the opportunity. So they work really hard, but may not know exactly where they're headed or how to get there.
Yeah. Well, let's back up a little bit and tell us about yourself, how you got involved with this, and maybe some background.
You bet. So I started out as a high school teacher in my 20s and 30s.
Not an easy job.
I know. No. I loved teaching though, and it was a wonderful experience. And then after about 13 years of doing that, I knew I needed to change,
Right.
but I didn't know exactly what it would be. So I found an organization called the E-Myth Worldwide.
Heard of it?
That's what it's called these days. And I learned from the ground floor up how to help a business owner put the things in place that are needed to create success, profitability, more time for the owner, more money for the owner, and a great working environment for the team.
So was it an easy transition for you from high school teacher to this
It took
area?
a lot. It took a lot of learning. I had a 6-week training from that organization that was invaluable, and I stayed there for 13 years.
Wow.
And I began as a coach, and they didn't even call it business coaching back then.
What did they call it?
It was called Client Services Manager.
Client Services Manager.
And the endeavor that we were engaged in was called business development.
That's a common term now.
Yes, and often that refers to fundraising.
Right.
However, in this setting, it referred to building a business that works to
Right.
serve the owner's life and the lives of all those involved.
Right. Now, in today's world, what types of problems do you encounter? Do you see business owners struggling with?
The frustrations they stay the same over decades. Conditions change a bit in the economy and that sort of thing, but the frustrations remain. So what happens usually is that the business owner is the glue that holds the whole thing together, and maybe it works well, but it only works well when they're there. So they feel they can't leave, and there's a lot of stress around that. And what happens often is there's a lot of firefighting. Firefighting prevents a proactive approach to building a business that works to serve your life. This is something you can do if you somehow avoid the firefighting mode.
So give us a definition of firefighting. What is that?
Firefighting is when things come up every day that you don't expect. Like all of a sudden, you can't deliver to a customer as you promised. So you don't know why. All of a sudden, the customer's calling, they're unhappy, and you have to find out where's the problem, what happened. Well, if you put something proactive in place, you would have known about that days before. And you could have called the customer, and you could have been proactive about letting the customer know that there's been a delay, and this is the new due date that will deliver. And that works because customers are happy to be informed.
Right.
It's not so much that they need it exactly at the moment when you promised it, but they need you to keep your promise of communicating with them.
Right. So it's customer service, basically, and avoiding problems by being proactive early.
Yes.
If you have a problem, let the customer know. And in my own experience, I've found that that's really helpful. And they're very flexible about
They are
things like
flexible.
that. They can prepare for the fact that whatever it is might be a little late.
Right.
And, they'd rather be informed than not. That's for sure.
That's right. And so how do you do that, though? That's the question. How do you get a system going in your business where people are reporting results to you and you're not running after them saying, hey, did you do that? Did you do that?
Right.
Did you do that?
Right.
And there's a way to do that. There's a way to build a system, introduce it to your people, let them have input and ask questions, and then you do a test. Everybody's on the same page. This is how you create shared expectations. And shared expectations are the secret to building a business that works, because you can't have accountability until you have shared expectations. If people are on the same page, then they'll understand what their role is and how to deliver what is theirs to deliver, what they're accountable for. But if people haven't agreed to that, if they haven't seen it in writing, how would they know?
Right.
And then everybody's just trying to do their best, but nobody's on the same page, and that creates a lot of chaos.
Right. Let's take an example, though, of not just a business that has employees, but many businesses, as you know, start as a one-person business. How can what you do in working for a client or working with another business coach help these folks? And what kinds of problems do you foresee for them, or have you experienced for them?
There comes a moment where it makes sense to hire your first person. So when I work with clients, one of the first things we do is we build a clear vision, and we put it in writing, and we put it in a lot of detail. This is a great tool because it gets the detail down from the owner's head onto paper, and it allows other people to understand what the goals are of the company. So when you do recruitment and when you build systems, everybody understands that's how we do it here until we change it here. And this is the way that creates a successful path to profitability, because without the systems, you can't really engage in getting the result.
Right, right. Well, I remember when I was teaching courses that I was teaching to people who were going to start as a one-person business for the most part. And I used to tell them, when you hire your first employee, you then become a personnel manager, and not just a business owner. And that has a lot of issues attached to it.
Right, absolutely. So there, at that point, and often the first hire is an executive assistant or an office manager.
Got it.
Not always, but it depends on the business and what the need is.
Right.
So when you decide which one you want to hire first, then there's a way to go about doing a recruitment that attracts the right fit for your vision, for your organization, for the culture you want to create. So there's a way to build that recruitment. I offer a lot of tools that do that. Now, when you have employees, you need management tools. There is a way to manage people, to get results through other people, that is done in a framework of respect, trust, and accountability. That's the framework I use. I call it the art of people management: accountability, respect, and trust.
Very good.
A lot of companies don't have management systems, they have managers, and the managers don't always have a common way of getting results through other people. So often the managers are running around after everybody saying, well, do this, do that, do this, do that, but they're not having time to do their own work.
Right.
So they do their work late at night or on the weekends. That's not how it has to be.
Right.
It can shift. People can know what their job is. They can do what's their job and then deliver their results without help sometimes.
Right.
It's when they need help that they go to their manager.
Right, right. And so there's a lot of folks struggling out there, and they don't really know where to go for help. And I know that business coaching has become very popular over the last 5 to 7 years. Now, I understand that you work also with business coaches and help them. So tell us a little about that.
Right. Well, when I worked at the eMyth organization, I was accountable for building the licensee network. So they did an offering of a licensing possibility, and those licensees had to go through a training which taught them how to be that style of coach. We did that for about the last 2 years of my job there, and we did it once a month for 5 days, in a row, we kicked off the intensive with an intensive for 5 days, and then their training lasted 3 years. And they learned how, they went through all the training materials and learned not just the content of how to build a business that works, but the process, how to take a client through the process. So I have done that. I have done an abbreviated job of that. I took the best of that and I made it into the tools that I felt would be the most helpful to the business owners. So when people work with me, they begin with a vision, then they build a structure that will allow them to build to that vision. Then we build systems, we put management tools in place, we give them a marketing foundation of who their target markets are and how to approach them in a way that will attract the customer.
Right.
All different areas of the business. We put office systems in place. There's a way to do it, there's a path. And then it's how to manage people to get results and how to have your eyes on the money to ensure that you're not just working hard, but you're being profitable.
Right, right. Can you tell us, I know you put together a manual for coaches. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Well, that was a project that I did with a gentleman named Kevin Cook. And we put together during the economic downturn in 2008, 2009, we began building this program. First, we built it for veterans in transition who wanted to either find a new career or start a business. Because there was a reason we started with the veterans, because my partner Kevin was involved with a website that was offering a lot of resources to the vets.
Very good.
And so that website launched. It stayed around for a while, but it didn't stay over time. So Kevin and I, though, continued writing our program, and we finished it. So we have a program. It could be distributed nationally to coaches, and you need to have certain business coaching skills. You need to be able to know what business coaching is to do that, but it gives you a curriculum to help a veteran build a business and even find out what that business might be.
Great, that's a great tool.
And also things like how to reapportion your skill sets to a different area, you know, because military skill sets are invaluable in other fields of endeavor. And people, if they start to think, well, how could I apply this to some other business? Then they'll find the right fit, and we take people through that. So this program is to be distributed through coaches, and veterans all over the country would be able to see a directory, and that's what your directory, you know, is invaluable there too.
Yeah, well, it's a local directory
you have
for Sonoma County.
Right.
But
that type of thing is the thing that would allow veterans the overview of what's available. And if it's national, that's another step, and that may not be your
Well,
vision.
not right now. Not right now.
But
Maybe a little
that's the
later.
potential. Yeah, that's the potential of it.
Yeah.
And we thought it would be a really helpful resources to veterans in transition, and at the same time, because of the economic downturn, we decided that we would offer it to civilians also, because people were losing their jobs in 2009, and often people didn't find another job, but they started a business instead. So that program is really excellent for that target market, those two target markets, the civilians and the veterans.
That's great. With the time remaining, do you have some suggestions or ideas or helpful hints for veterans who want to start a small business here locally?
Yeah, I'd say that the first thing would be to have a conversation with someone you trust about the viability of your business idea. I always encourage my clients to do a viability study before they begin, and I help them do that when they're considering going into a field, because the field you go into, it has to serve a need that's out there. You know, that's the definition of what might work in building a business, is find a need and fill it. It can be your passion, but if it's your passion, but there's no need for it out there, you have to know about that first. So we run some numbers and we look at possibilities, and we go from there.
Yeah. The struggle to start a business, and starting a business is a struggle, as you know. It's satisfying and and it can be fun,
Yep.
but there are the practicalities of research before you start
Yes.
spending money.
Right, exactly. And it takes work and it takes commitment. It's not an easy thing to do, but there's a path, and the path is not complicated. So if you know the path to go down, it can work really well, and you build correctly from the beginning. You build a foundation, you build a business that has all the right pieces and parts, and usually for businesses that are already up and running, you can see the missing piece and provide that,
Right.
because you can see that that would be the solution to the frustration that's at hand.
Great, great. Well, Janice, I want to thank you very much. It's been very informative, and our
You're
people,
welcome.
our people here will gain a lot of insight, and just want to thank you for your contribution to veterans.
You bet.
and to
The
everyone.
veterans are very close to my heart. I had experience throughout the Vietnam era and appreciated the sacrifice of the veterans and would love to have an opportunity to help.
Great.
And this approach helps people, and I would like to offer that if anyone has a question, they're so welcome to call me.
Very good.
And
very good.
and you-
how would they reach you?
Well, my website is intentionalleaders.com with an S, all one word, and
Great. Well, thank you, Janice, and I know that this is really going to help some folks. We appreciate your time
you
and
bet.
interest.
Happy to.
Thank you. Bye.